Okay, how y'all doing? Everybody's good? Okay, so we're going to do the second artist talk. These artists responded to the prompt of freedom. But before I bring the artists out, I just want to talk really quickly. There's another featured artist who's not in the 1619 Project book, but you'll see his work out on exhibition. And his name is Marcus Duenas. And Marcus is an incarcerated artist. And I came across Marcus because he actually painted an amazing piece about the White Lion that's actually exhibited out in the exhibition. But he also made me a model of the White Lion ship completely out of tissue paper and used coffee grounds as the dye. It is a magnificent model, and when he sent me the works, I just knew I wanted to have him in the exhibit, even though he isn't officially a part of the 1619 Project. Had I known about him when I commissioned art for it, I certainly would have included him, because Marcus to me just symbolizes so much about our country, that we have so much talent and so much brilliance that we are allowing to waste away in our carceral system. And so we have to acknowledge the ingenuity and the talent and the determination to be citizens who are still giving back to society and still producing art and knowledge. So please give it up for Marcus, even though he's not able to be here. Marcus does have... Oh, okay. Where's the son? Okay. What? Okay. Marcus also does have an Instagram page, so you can also see his work as well. So please make sure that you stop by and look at his work as you're looking at the exhibit. And now I'd like to bring on stage the other artists for this talk, which are Jamia Richmond Edwards, John Key, Brandon B. Mike Odoms, and Zyveria Simmons. All right. Thank you all again for saying yes, and each of you also represent different medium. So I'm gonna basically ask you the same questions that I asked the other artists. The first question is, just please talk about when you got the prompt of freedom, how you produced your work and the meaning behind it. And we'll start on the end, Jamia. And also, yes, please hold the microphones and speak loudly.
Hello, test, test,
There we
test.
go.
Okay, okay. Hey, y'all. So the title of my piece is called Bound for the Beyond. And I hope, okay, there it is, yes. When I think of freedom, I just want to give you all a little quick context of like the framework in terms of which I grew up. So I'm from Detroit. Grew up in the 80s, and while I grew up watching Roots, I also grew up under techno, Parliament, Michael Jackson. So from a very futurist, I would say, framework, growing up in Detroit, you have quite a few what we call black radical movements. So I grew up understanding that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said black people are billions of years old. So when I received the prompt, I wanted to extend it beyond time. And so this is me looking forward to the future and really saying that there's no beginning or ending. This is forever. And if you look up in the back, you will see a dragon flying. One of the quotes that really inspires me is a quote from Sun Ra, and he has this spiel where he says, the black man is a myth, and we are not reality, and we come from the dreams of essentially our ancestors. So for me, that means dreaming and building my own mythos and mythology. When Nicole, in the previous talk, you talked about our founding fathers building up this this propagated idea of what America is. To me, I decided about 5 or 6 years ago to give myself permission to build my own myths and possibilities, which includes dragons and unicorns and being able to fly. So freedom for me was first and foremost being able to see myself beyond my wildest dreams. So that's essentially my work.
Yes. Testing.
Before we move on, we had a great conversation yesterday over lots and lots of drinks.
To 3:30 in the morning.
I would love for you to just talk. You were talking to me about some of the symbolism in your piece, the serpents and
Woo,
others.
come on now.
And so I would love for you to share some of that.
Yeah, so if you look at my work, you will see quite a few serpents. The serpent and the dragon is synonymous. And what I started this sort of dissertation on during my time at Howard. My thesis was Medusa as an archetype. So I became really fascinated by just serpents, how it's used to describe Black folks, from Medusa. I remember growing up hearing my mom say she was a snake in the grass, like just stuff like that, right? But what I began looking at indigenous art, indigenous history, you find all over the world that the serpent and the dragon is a form of empowerment, right? We have Serpent Mound in Ohio. I know I have a lot of Ohio folks up in here. I had conversations with folks from Ohio. But anyway, you find the serpent venerated. And so for me, that sort of began to shift the vantage point of the serpent. So even when we were looking from a biblical, in Genesis, one vantage point is that the serpent is the liberator. So I've taken that, and it's really led me so many places. I live in Detroit. We have the Detroit Institute of Arts. We have one of the greatest murals there created by Diego Rivera. And so one of the docents pointed out to me, he said, look, if you look throughout this mural, the serpent is in it. So what I find is the serpent is the thread from the earliest, the beginning, you know what I mean? And so I look at myself as the continuum of that legacy and utilizing the serpent. And even when I think of the serpent, I'm thinking of the sperm, like you find that symbol, that motif, literally, it's the spine, it's the kundalini. So, yeah, I hope that answers it.
Hi, I'm John Key. I'm originally from Alabama. I live in New York. I don't know if New York people are here. Yes, New York. I'm an artist. I'm a graphic designer. I run a graphic design studio called Mirko's Key. We mostly do arts and cultural work. I'm a writer. Last year, I came out with a book called Black Korean Untold. And I'm an artist. And a lot of my work really thinks about how archives and history can be jumping off points for visualizations and creations, but also reimagining our futures. So this piece that I made for this is called Transformational Freedoms. And I'm from, like I said, I'm from Alabama, and we have this story in the marshes in Georgia and Alabama of Black people seeing their siblings and their moms and their dads fly into the sky and escape, the framework of slavery and being constricted to this ground and to this plane. And so this piece was inspired by that type of folklore. And there's a lot of amazing texts and books and histories that talk about the like you were saying, the imagination of us being able to fly, but not even imagination, the reality that we're able to escape our current circumstances through literally leaving this earth. And so, yeah, I use a lot of images of myself, of my body. So there's like a Black Power fist that I created, but also find and source a lot of images online and through archives. And so one of the transformations that is kind of documented is that, Black folks would transform into turkey vultures and fly away. And so this is basically what that is depicting over the kind of marshlands of Georgia. And and I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be included in this.
Why turkey vultures?
Why turkey vultures? I don't know why exactly turkey vultures. I think it is a symbol of being wild, but also being able to still fly. I think that oftentimes you imagine turkeys as being ground creatures, and this animal can get off of the ground and actually soar. So I think maybe it's about, changing your perspectives on something. I guess, I don't know.
Hello. Can you hear me now? Hello? No? Try this one. Hello? Oh, okay. Peace, everybody. My name is Brandon B. Mike Odoms. You want to hold this one? Thank you. I'm a visual artist from New Orleans, one of the greatest cities on the planet. This piece I'm here in a way as proxy for the practice that I engage in New Orleans with a lot of amazing artists that we are privileged to be able to build and work with and train. When I got the prompt, we were in the midst of creating this mural, and this is something that exists in a very special part of New Orleans, the Tremaine neighborhood, which is one of the oldest Black neighborhoods in New Orleans. And this is a tribute to, in a lot of ways, a practice of freedom. The Black Mexican Indians in New Orleans is a tradition and a practice around not only resistance, but just what does it look like to engage in your own version of freedom. And there's many theories, not theories, but ways and people acknowledge how this practice began. Some thinking of enslaved Africans who found refuge with indigenous folks, and then to pay homage to that would parade and dress up as them. Others say that it was a practice around masking in the thing that white folks were most afraid of at the time, which were indigenous folks in the area. And so in the midst of whoever you ask, this practice remains as a form of how New Orleanians have not only preserved history, but preserved this idea of how do you blend all these different inspirations from West Africa to indigenous culture into this present day practice. And so what we were doing with this mural, this specific building is a space that the elder that's painted, or that I painted all the way to the right, Big Chief Tootie Montana, this was once a hardware store where he would have went in to buy the supplies for his suit. And Big Chief Tootie Montana was said to be, in New Orleans, the chief above all chiefs because he unified the culture. It used to be a very violent culture in New Orleans where tribes would war against each other. But Big Chief Tootie Montana made it into a culture of beauty in terms of the battle was happening with your suit and how beautiful your suit was. So we paid tribute to him, and the young folks all found ways to represent the culture and everything that it was formed from through the various patches on the space. So that's what that represents.
If you ever get down to New Orleans, Brandon's just doing such amazing work with the youth down there. I met you through DJ Johnson and Baldwin and Co., and he took me to your, it's I guess a warehouse, like the art that's happening in there and like the transformative work that he's doing with youth is just so amazing, and his footprint is all over New Orleans. And one of the reasons that I wanted you to be in it is, again, looking at graffiti art and looking at mural making as art that our community has often engaged in to tell our stories. Even when we weren't getting art in school and we weren't going into art museums, we were filling our communities with art. And of course, that's what you have long done in New Orleans. So really, really appreciate you being a part of it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, let me switch it up. Hi, everyone. How are you tonight? Good, yes. Thank you, Nicole, so much for including all of us in your work, and thank you for the rigor of your mind, which we've all been inspired by. Like, I really appreciate you so much. Hello. And it's obviously an honor to be with my fellow artists. My name is Zyveria Simmons. I'm a visual and performing artist, and the work that I don't know if you can see, I hope you can see the inside, but the work that I included in here is actually a photograph using some of the images from the Afro-American newspapers, which is the longest running Black-owned newspaper in the United States. So, and it's still running today out of Baltimore, through the custody or custodianship of Savannah Wood, so you should look it up. It's an amazing, gorgeous archive, and Savannah and I, have worked together on exhibitions, and I used some of the images inside of the archive, and in particular this one, when responding to the prompt, it was like, when you asked me to be in the book, I mean, this was the image, this was the only image it just made the most sense to me, because I think it was the clearest, simplest, most profound idea of resistance and freedom, especially in the United States, especially when you think of Black folks, and the ultimate freedom that if this freedom is in action, is obviously, as someone else said, is the fear of the Black planet. So I wanted to use that work, and I'm often one of the actors inside of my work. And I also think a lot about the history of photography, how Blackness is shown inside of photographs, and also Black women. And this is a longer series where I'm looking at, kind of how the camera apparatus has both kind of liberated and oppressed at the same time. So I try to make characters that you wouldn't kind of expect to see in certain ways. So for instance, the jacket is a welder's jacket. The camera is like from a different time. And I try to make works that don't seem to be in the right time frame, but really the image enclosed both ties to the Afro's history, which is very profound, and also this idea of resistance and freedom, and the ultimate freedoms that, if Black Americans across this country actually did have the arms, and I know some of us do, some folks do, if we really did walk around with our arms the way, the imagination and the fear of the governmental white mind, that's the ultimate freedom, I think, in the United States, and what everyone's fighting for.
Thank you. And your work is actually, so it's you have to look on that opposite wall, so make sure it's not just in the exhibit area where all the panels are, so make sure that you don't miss it. So I'm gonna just ask, and any of you can answer this, the same question that I asked the artist on the first panel, which is, considering where we are in the country today, has the way that you're thinking about what you created and what you want it to mean, or how you want us to receive it, changed at all?
Test. For me, the work, because I did that piece, what was that, 2 years ago? I mean, the time is kind of a blur, 2-3 years ago. We have to be mindful that we are actively writing the future, and oftentimes we leave the narrative to the oppressors, right? And it's just a reminder to continue to dream. And so for me, I'm thinking about those dragons, and I'm constantly, in my mind, I'm like, the sleeping dragons are going to wake up. They are going to awaken. And really, it's really an allegory to mind and bravery. Because dragon, the etymology, literally means to see clearly. So for me, the work is even pertinent, even for us to be having this conversation right now, I don't think, shout out to God, things are lining up. So to me, it's pertinent now, and it's encouraging me to dream my biggest dream, like some outrageous inner earth, weird, like spaceship, motherships, and to call it on. And I think this is the time, because I've had conversations with people, and I don't mean to go on a tangent, and they're like, how do you feel? And I'm like, actually, I'm okay, because the barometer that I use to measure if the sky is falling is my peers, my artistic peers. And we are really inspired, my peers are. Like, we are fired up, and we are really tapping into our creative juices. And so I just feel really empowered and, inspired by now to be brave. So
I love that. I mean, my book, Black Queer Untold, a new archive of artists, designers, and trailblazers, came out 4 days before the election. So it was either going to be a book that was automatically about protest, or a book that was about, celebrating our differences can come together and save America. And we obviously know what happened. And looking at that work, which basically culminates artists, designers, politicians from the 1800s to today, through the lens of graphic design ephemera, so lithographs, photography, magazines, as containers for this Black history, to me it's even now more important than ever that we're telling our stories, and we know what our history is, and we know how to share that with people. And I guess as a painter, as an artist, a lot of my work before was really, it's changed over the years, but my most recent work is really leaning into this joy and of community and the intimacy of my queerness and my friends. But now I find myself wanting to be even more audacious, tell more of my secrets, show more of myself in my paintings, be even more raw, be even more honest, because me being honest allows somebody down the road to be their full selves without having to hide themselves. So I do think that it is shifting a little bit. I think these are impulses that are already innate within me, but now the urgency is even more dire, to be able to make the time to make those stories happen.
I guess I tried, y'all. I tried. I'm sorry, sound people. Yeah. I think at its best and also at its worst, artists are always at intimate terms with despair. We're always in close proximity to the fringe, or to whether it's in our own self or whether it's into the things we see. So there's a part of me that says it's not much about what's around that's different than what I typically am trying to be proximate to. But also I think, like James Baldwin said, we're here to disturb the peace, or to disturb the perception of peace constantly. So even if things were great and good, the artist is still interrogating that and saying, wait, maybe not. So I don't think, because we all agree that things aren't great, that the artist now then has a different duty. I think we're always interrogating that. For me, however, to be 100% transparent, I don't have a lot of direction in terms of, I used to think that art was to heighten the contradiction. It was to show people look how bad it is, or look how this is being presented in such a wrong way. And I think now it's people know. People, they see it, they understand. And the function of what we do, I think I've been interrogating in a lot of ways. That's the biggest difference in this moment than has ever been in my life, that I'm interrogating the function of what Black artists do. Are we making decoration? Are we addressing problems? Or are we just trying to find solace in the midst of the pain? Which all of that is beautiful. I mean, we all need distractions. We all need, things to make us feel like things will be okay. So what I've been doing, though, as a result of not being able to find the creativity or the inspiration, is I just been building. I've kind of focused on a very small audience of people, which is our space in Studio B in New Orleans. And I'm saying whoever walks through the door is who I'm working with and to, and for. And I'm no longer, at least in this particular moment, trying to bang the drum really loud to shout to the world that this is what's happening. I'm saying, yo, within these 35,000 square feet, this is where the work is happening. And this is where I'm putting my time into, and no one's gonna take that from us. We bought the building, ain't nobody pushing us out. It's like we're in there and we're doing the work. That's what it looks like for me right now.
And I love exactly, I feel very similar to what you said. I think it's for me, you know, when I think of the word artist, as someone who's been an artist for most of my life, at this juncture in my life, I think about artists, which means I have supplies, which means I have a family, which means I have storage bills, which means I have, you know, like financial worries and financial windfalls and financial gains, all the things. So I feel similarly that I've taken a lot of risks as an artist. Like I've been advocating for decades with other artists, helping them to, you know, unionize and organize and all these things. And I think particularly at this time when I made this work, I was really focused on the resistance. And now I'm like, there's been a lot of disappointment, I have to admit. You know, obviously politically disappointing, but also amongst, you know, I don't want to throw us all under the bus, but you know, black and brown folks and white folks have there's been some heartache. And so for me, similarly to you, like I've had to kind of come back into myself, think about what I actually love to make and do, and also think about the things inside of the United States that make it really difficult to make work, even if you make a living at being an artist. And so I'm kind of in this similar position. I am producing and making work and looking at things, but it's not to the detriment of my mental, physical, and spiritual health. And I just want to say, especially for, you know, I'm no disrespect to black men, but for black women, I feel like there's a lot that we take in, and then we to our detriment, to our mental, spiritual, physical detriment. And I'm laying that, for me, I had to lay that burden down for now, because I've been doing that burden, and I feel I'm into like my acupuncture, my Pilates, I'm working out, you know what I mean? Like I'm into enjoying my life. So that's how things have changed. I mean, I was enjoying before, but now, you know.
All right. Well, thank you all again for agreeing to be a part of the 1619 Project and for sharing your amazing minds and your amazing creativity with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.